Hello, everyone. I was watching like these YouTube videos, and it's like, it was so crazy because there's like all these women that are like in abusive relationships and they're getting restraining orders. I was watching because there were like these videos like saying all these women died because of the men they were with that killed them. And I'm just thinking, you knew this person was crazy, you knew all this, and you must have known it for a while. And even if you didn't know it, why didn't you have a backup plan? Because it's like, hey, everybody wants to get married, or most people want to get married, and people want to have a family and that happily ever after. But you have to plan for when things go sideways. And I'm a trained domestic violence counselor. I remember when I took my domestic violence training, because like they don't care where you get it as long as you get it. And I ended up getting it in a country little town. And it was crazy because the place where I got my domestic violence training, the domestic violence center, was right across the street from a gun shop, which was crazy. The sheriff's department or whatever wasn't that far away. And like City Hall, well, City Hall was a whole other side of town, but like the courthouse and like that stuff, it was like not too far away, but it was further away than the gun shop. The gun shop was directly across the street. And at this domestic, it was like a place where you go before they take you to the domestic violence shelter. And it's like where you go to have like family visits and stuff. But the thing is, there was a gun shop across the street and there were no metal detectors or anything. So you never know, somebody could go crazy. But I took this training class to be a domestic violence counselor. And it was so crazy because they're like, if you have an issue, get a restraining order and just move to the other side of town. The town is so small. If you don't want to go to one grocery store and you go to the other, because it's like a small little town. It's like not that small, but it's like you might see this person, you might see their family, because this is like a town where people stay for like generations. They stay there, or if they leave, they come back and they visit. But it's not like super small where there's like one store in town. They have multiple stores in like different areas. But say if you're driving down the street, you're in one part of town, or you see somebody, they can be like, hey, I just saw them, and they can be there in a few minutes. And it's like, I thought that was crazy. And they were like, oh, just move to the other side of town and get a restraining order. You can start your life over. It's like, this person's crazy, violent, whatever. They know where you are. They can get you really easy. And I'm just thinking like, why would, and it's like a county where it's so small. Like if you have any county business, no matter what part of the county you live in, you have to go to this city to get all your like county, like say if you need like taxes, social security, or anything. Or if say if you're on food stamps or anything, you have to go to this town because there's no other office anywhere in the county. So you have to go to this town. So it's like the county's so small because like there's some places where in counties where they'll have more than one place where you can go. Because like I don't know about LA, but I'm assuming LA would have more than like one place you can go if you needed like social, if you need to go to like a social security office or like a welfare office or something. I don't know. I don't know because I haven't done that, and especially not in LA. But I would assume they would have more because it's such a big county. But like this is a small county, and then all the counties around it are small. So if you had to get like those services, there's only one place you can go in those counties because it's not like a big area. So people are like, at this domestic violence place, they were like, oh, just move to the other side of town. And it's like, if you leave him and you have no money, you have nothing, or you don't have enough and you're going to need public services, he can just go sit outside the welfare office or social security or wherever, or the unemployment office, because the unemployment office, social security, all that stuff are right next to each other in some places. And he would just have to go sit outside the building for a little bit and wait you out until you get there, especially if he has nothing to do and is right downtown by everything. So it's like he could be hanging out there with his friends or whatever, and it's right next to the mall. So you can be doing all this stuff because no matter what, you're gonna end up going somewhere where you're gonna run into this person. And they're like, oh, just move to the other side of town, everything will be fine and stuff. And then it's like you can, because it's like they're like, you can go to the domestic violence shelter, but it's like everybody knows that this is where you go before you go. So once you go there, wait, you I know you're gone, but wait you out and go there. And then a lot of people know where the domestic violence shelter is. So then they can go there and find you. And then they're like, oh, can call the police or whatever. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to go into the place and get you if I'm crazy. Or maybe I might. But it's like you would wait that place out and wait for them to leave, then try and get them. And I'm just thinking, like, why would you tell people to do this? And it's like you're telling people to tell people to do this. And it's crazy because it's like, I'm thinking, if it were me that was in this situation, I would leave town. But before I even left town, even before I even got in a relationship, married, whatever, I'm already planning my exit plan, because you never know. You get into that situation you didn't plan as just like an emergency fund. And then like people are like, oh, let's have joint bank accounts and everything. It's like, oh, okay, I don't really want to have a joint bank account with you. I don't know, this could go south and then you steal all my money or whatever. Or you might be crazy, have gambling addictions or whatever, and then steal all my money, and then I end up homeless, or just stuff might go south and I want to get away from you. And I don't see anything wrong with having your own bank account, because I would never share my bank account with anyone. I don't care if I'm married or whatever. It's like things could be good. You can turn 1 minute to the next, or you could have led me on this whole time that we were together, and you're like, oh, I have a crazy ex, all that crazy kind of stuff. But I'm going to plan for the future with you or without you. So if things go wrong, you turn crazy on me. One night you go off and you start trying to hit me, attack me, get jealous, all this crazy stuff where I'm in fear of my life. I'm going to let you do your thing. I'm gonna go off and do my thing. I might let you calm down, think everything's fine, like, oh, I'm so sorry, I forgive you and everything. Yeah, I'm gonna let you do that. Then once you leave, I'm gonna call the cops, get a restraining order, and then I'm getting the fuck out of town. And it won't really be a big deal to me. And then that's another thing. You always have to have, because I don't believe in having just one job, because I believe in being financially ready, because who knows, you might have a job, you hate that job the next day, and you're like, yeah, I don't want to be here, but then I can't quit because I don't have anything else. I don't believe in that. I believe in to have a side extra thing, because if I want to quit something, I'm going to quit it. I'm not going to stick around because that's my only option, because I don't believe in having only one option. I believe in more than one option. So if I'm with somebody, or if I'm not with somebody, I'm going to have another job. I might not tell you about that job, or I might tell you about that job. I might have a bunch of jobs, but I'm going to have a job that might take me to different places, different counties, different cities. So no matter where I go, you can't find me. Or I might be somewhere one day, but you wouldn't know where. Because say if I live here, I might not work in that county. I might work in 2 counties away. And I might be going to different sites. I could go to a different county every day, because that's what I do with my job now. I show up when I feel like it. I go to wherever I want to go. I make a good wage where I can afford my apartment and everything. And then pretty much whatever I make from my job, I just save it for my rainy day fund or vacation. So I see it as have your main job and use that money, save some of that money, pay your bills, have fun, live your best life. But then have another thing you do when you feel like it, and put all that money in the bank, and then have at least like 5, 10, 20, however much you can afford a week or a month. Put that have a different bank account at a different bank, even a different county, state, online bank, whatever, and don't have any proof of it. And just save money there. And then if stuff goes wrong, you get just make sure you have some way to get that money out, whether it be something. And then after everything goes wrong and you're like ready to go. And I also believe in having a storage space too. And don't have that storage space in your city or county. Have it in a different county, somewhere that person doesn't know about. And I believe have a lot of stuff, because I believe if there's ever an emergency, even like if it's not even like a domestic violence situation or something, if it's like in a hurricane or something like they're talking about going on, like have your stuff in a different county and have a couple of months worth of stuff and like extra stuff, but don't get a storage space. It's like too expensive, no more than like 100 or so, and just have extra supplies and stuff there. So if shit goes south, you need to get away from this person. You're scared for your life and move on. Yeah. And you can just start over. You don't have to worry about, oh, I need to go back and get my clothes. I need to go get this. No, you have that already. You have like a couple of months worth of clothes. Because it's like, you might think, oh, like I like to go to the store and just in case of an emergency or whatever, or I might think something's cute, or maybe later, or maybe I'll gain weight, lose weight, whatever. It's cute. I'll buy it if it's not too much, like under $10. Because like you can, I don't know, because I love Old Navy. I love different stores. I love like the department stores. But sometimes you check on their clearance rack stuff that might have been like $150 or whatever, or however much it was at some point. It goes on clearance. And the same thing with like Target. If you're thinking like, oh, I can't leave, I don't have kitchen stuff, I can't do this, you can go to Target. I remember there was this thing I wanted like years ago, a Yonanas thing. It's like instead of eating ice cream, you can use fruit and like mash it up and it'll be like ice cream and sherbet or whatever. And I wanted one of those, but I was too cheap to buy one. I'm just roaming the outside shelves of Costco. I mean, not Costco, Target. And then I find one for like $20. And then I bought like a blender for like $5, like all kind of stuff I get on the back shelves of Target. But if you're like planning on leaving, whatever, you can just like get your stuff together and get a storage shed or whatever and just start building it up. But if it's like in an emergency, like you need to go, like you don't need that, just have everything and go and get to a shelter out of the county, whatever, and get it all together. Because it's like so crazy how I hear about all these women are getting like restraining orders on YouTube, and then they go back home. It's like, or they go to your family's home. When you get a restraining order or any of that, you don't go back home. You leave the county. You don't go anywhere where you know this person might frequent. You leave the county. You just tell your family you're leaving. You don't tell them where you're going or anything. And I would say, because some people are like, oh, I need to let them get to know my family and all this. And it's like, yeah, I don't believe in that. It's like, yeah, you can meet my family in passing. It's not like you're going to be going to my family's house and doing all this stuff. Because like then when you hear about that stuff like that, and then like you hear when somebody breaks up with you and everything, and then sometimes they go a little psycho, well, not a little psycho, they go majorly psycho. Because I remember I was watching something on YouTube. There was like this couple, they were together for a while, and they would have had family celebrations, and then they slaughtered the whole family like on Christmas or something. It's like, no, don't do that. Yeah, don't do that. Don't let people know where your whole family lives. And when you leave, let your family know so they can be on alert so they can take off if they need to. But don't tell them where you're going. Let the police know, because you need to get that restraining order, especially if you have kids. So they know what's going on, so they can't try and say you kidnapped your kids. It's like you're scared for your life. This person's after you. And it's just crazy that I hear like so many of these situations, because I just saw this one video. I'm not sure if this just happened. I think it just happened like last month. This woman, she was with her husband for like 15 years, and he started being violent with her, and she called the police on him a few times, and then she tried to get a restraining order, and it was like she had an appointment. And I'm like, what do you mean you have an appointment to get a restraining order? It's like if you're in that much danger and everything, the police can grant you a restraining order on the spot, or at least in California, I've heard. But this woman went back home, and she had like, I think she had like 6 kids. She was holding her baby, and then he shot and killed her while she was holding her baby, because she went back home after that. Because I'm assuming she had a car, because even if you don't have a car, a Greyhound ticket, you can get a Greyhound ticket for like $20, or an Amtrak ticket for like $20, or get on your local bus and try and get as far away as you can. Yeah, because it was just sad, because it was like you have a car, get away. But I would say if you had a car, like take it somewhere and drive somewhere and leave it, because you never know if you put a tracking device on your car or what. But I would say leave the car or try and get rid of the car, like sell it to get money and get something else, and then get back. And then if he's been violent with you once or whatever, you need to get away, don't return. Yeah, just leave town, don't go back, and get a restraining order. And then if you have to go back for a court date or something, make sure you tell the police you need to be guarded and you need to leave town and everything, and make sure and ask them to hold him back or something, and look out to make sure he doesn't have any friends, because you never know. He might have friends that feel the same way, and they'll stay and watch him, but he might have a friend watching you and they'll follow you and then wait outside your house and then tell him where you are, because you never know. Because I would say, even if you had a court date, don't go back to your house that same day. I would say have some extra money for a few days and move around different places. Keep moving places. Change, like you might go somewhere, go into a mall, change what you're wearing, switch up on cars, make sure or go to an airport and change cars, switch clothes and all that stuff, because you never know. Because you hear about all this crazy stuff, you never know how crazy that person is that you're with, because you're seeing the good side and you're ignoring all the red flags. It's so crazy, but you just got to be aware. And it's like you might be so in love, whatever, but then things turn and you have to be careful. Because I know one time when I was really young, I went out with this guy for a week, and then I started seeing the red flags that he was crazy. And then after we broke up, some friends I knew, they knew him, and they were like, "Oh, I didn't want to throw mess up your relationship or whatever." It was like, "Yeah, I knew he was crazy. Yeah, we were kids. I knew he was crazy since we were kids." And it was like they didn't want to say anything, and it was like, you didn't want to say anything because I had this one friend who went to school with them, and he was he saw him as his rival or whatever. And then turns out I dated that guy too, but he was the better choice, but he was a liar and cheater. Not cheating on me, he had a whole, not even a secret life, it was just a messed up life. But he was cool besides that, once you accept him for who he is. And then it was I didn't date him anymore. But then this guy harassed me for years, and then I didn't leave the county, but I moved to the other side of the county. And then one day because I signed up for a dating website years ago, and then I go take out my trash, and then he starts messaging me on this dating site. He was like, "Oh, I just saw you take out your trash, you look nice today." And then I call the cops and I report him to the cops, because he was scared, because he already had a bunch of restraining orders. I found out later after I dated him. Yeah, because it was I was really young, and I found out later a bunch of people had restraining orders on him. He's gone to jail. I haven't heard from him since the last time he contacted me and said that, when I reported him to the police, and then he left me alone. It was really creepy, but that went on for years, because he would just message me out of the blue, or then I had to change my phone number, or he would find me online. Because I remember when I tried to use Facebook, I never understood Facebook, but he targeted me again. And then I saw his Facebook page, and then he had this girl he was trying to talk to that looked just like me. And then I warned her to stay away from him, because I'm he's crazy. But he would tell everybody else he had all these crazy exes, and they were getting restraining orders on him. And then one time we were hanging out, I didn't realize he was serious, but he was like, "Oh, I called Howard Stern's show one time, and he was on acid, and he was talking to Howard Stern." And then it was yeah, I didn't know him for that long, but when I heard that, it was yeah, we're pretty much over. And then we broke up, and he was like, "Oh, I want to be friends." Then he locked me in a room. Yeah. And then I realized he was a big loser, because I was young, and it was it was crazy. But I learned, even before that, I knew to I wanted to be more positive than what everybody else would tell me. And it was yeah, that was crazy, but I didn't have to leave the county, because he was too scared to come too close to me. Because he was because I'm brown, he was white, but he was crazy. and more people liked me. I had way more friends. He had no friends or anything. So he wouldn't come near me if I was near people because he knew nobody liked him. And the people that I knew him. And some of the people I knew him and knew he was crazy. And he was just an outcast. And he knew he had warrant. I don't know if he had warrants, but he had restraining orders. And I know if he messed up again, he would end up going to jail or something. It was crazy. But luckily that situation was over. But it went on, I would say, for a very long time, like more than a year, more than a few years. And then he finally stopped when I was like, because like I thought like the situation was over. And then it was like I took my trash out, and then he's like this, and then I reported it to the police, and then the police, I don't know if they got to him or what, but then I never heard from him again. It was crazy. But I only say this to like warn people to like be prepared. And it's not even just like be prepared for domestic violence. Be prepared for an emergency. You never know. And like people say, have a bag ready, packed or whatever. That's good to have a bag packed and everything in case of an emergency you need to go. But don't go to a hotel in your town. When you leave, you need to leave and go out. Like the next county's fine, but sometimes like counties, it's like you go to one county, somebody from there knows people from the next county, and like they're like interconnected or whatever. I would say at least go 2 counties away, and like you need to realize like how people know each other, if they know each other really well and different things like that. Because like some counties are like really small and people are really close to other people in other counties. Because like I know where I grew up, a lot of people from where I grew up moved to the county next door because the county I lived in is even more expensive. So people moved here to be cheaper, but then like people here, they've been here for like generations. And it's like people knew people over here because like people have been moving here for like decades because it's cheaper and you can get more land and all that stuff. But it's a different vibe to the area. Still a nice suburb, but a different vibe. More of a country suburb than a hippie suburb of like really elite rich people. There's still elite rich people here and stuff, but it's more spread out. Yeah. But you just have to think about those things, be prepared and ready to go. And sometimes you might have to leave with nothing. And you don't want to be one of those people that has to leave when the police are taking you out. And then you always want to be prepared because you never know, he could switch it up on you and say you're the abuser. So you just need to be prepared when things get rough. Get ready to get that restraining order, take off and go. Yeah, this is a long video, but I just felt like it was crazy how like all these women are like dying from like domestic violence, and a lot of them are saying it's from like their partners they've been with for a while, the fathers of their children and all this stuff. And they're like they got restraining orders or they tried to get restraining orders, but they went back home or they went to a family member's house. That's never the answer. Go home or to a family member's house. You need to like leave town. And it's if you don't have a car, you can take a bus or anything, because you get him arrested, he's going to get out and he's going to be mad. You have to go. And involving as few people as possible is better. Yeah. Because even if you connect with your local domestic violence shelter, that's always good. But a county over, or even if they don't have a space for you, go to the police. They can, in some places, they'll get you a hotel and set you up to go to the place the next day or wherever. But if you're abused once, whatever, you just need to go. Don't give it a second chance. Don't give it a second thought. And that's my video. If you like, subscribe, watch, all that good stuff for more informational stuff, fun stuff, all the stuff I talk about. Thanks for watching. Bye.